Okay, now let's talk sports.
Yes.
This is the D-Day.
Crunch
Today,
game. Crunch
at the
game.
Godswill Akpabio Stadium,
5 p.m.
Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria hosts Zambia in the 2018 World Cup qualifier, knowing that victory is very important. It is. So we can't settle for any other.
We can't settle for a draw. It will be tough getting a draw, but we can't go anything below a draw.
Okay, because we need to. This 6th appearance at the World Cup, we need to get there.
I don't.
So, are we set?
They say we are.
Is Nigeria set?
They say we are.
We'll find out. We have our analyst in the house, the CEO, Multi-Sport Service and Entertainment, Mr. Godwin Dudu Orume.
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 Is it Orume or Orume?
It's Orume.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have you forgotten?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me stop at that. And of course, we have Mr. Biola Kasim of Elevate Sports. Good to have you here.
Great to be here. Good morning.
Okay, so Mr. Dudu Orume, are we going to beat or trash Zambia? Are we set?
We're set to beat Zambia. We have a good team. We have a good coach.
You are set to beat, not trash.
No,
Beat is enough.
We give them some respect.
Is a bit is enough.
They've been a bit of a jinx team to us, giving us some rough moments in the past. But I think that this group of Eagles are ready. If we're able to keep needless influences away from the team before the game, at halftime, leave the coach to be in charge of his dressing room, we will smile, we will celebrate tonight.
We'll celebrate it.
I was going to ask you about the needless influences. We'll come back to that because we'll be looking at briefly about Nigeria at 57 and sports. Kasim, do you agree with Mr. Olu?
Yeah, I mean, those are sentiments I totally share. I thought that the point he made about needless influence is very important to make, because a lot of times when we are on the cusp of doing really great things, some of these things coming, you're making all sorts of promises, that in my view, absolutely unnecessary. As a core of the team, I think that we're incredibly lucky to have the same spine that came back into the Super Eagles that made the difference from that South Africa game. In the game against South Africa, we didn't have Leon Balogun, we didn't have Mikel Obi, and we also did not have, who did we not have?
A striker.
I mean, absolutely. So we had a decimated spine. And if you talk to any coach that knows the salt, the spine of your team is the most important part of your team. And so to have Leon Balogun fit, he's hardly ever fit for consecutive games, and to have Mikel Obi as well back in the team, we saw not just the ability that he had, but also the experience. It totally showed in 2 games against Cameroon. So to have all of them fit, Victor Moses, that was the last name. So if we have the quality of Victor Moses, we have the quality of Mikel Obi, we have Leon Balogun as well, who was an absolute Trojan in 2 games against Cameroon. I think that we have the nucleus of a team that can go on to do well. The only place where you imagine that there might be some level of dissonance might be the goalkeeping position, where the coach now has to make a decision between Akpeyi, who was supposed to be his first choice before he got injured for the 2 games against Cameroon, or to look at the performances of Ezenwa over the 2 games and decide that he should go as number 1. So we have the potential to select the same first 11 across 3 games. That never happens, because what we've had is a team of decent players of good quality, but we've been unlucky with injuries to key components of that team. That is not here, and that's a good sign for the game tonight.
Okay. And this one-word draw in Cameroon and, Zambia going ahead to defeat Algeria now means that the Chipolopolo, they are the stumbling block. You have said unnecessary interference and issues. How do we ensure that victory is assured tonight?
Sorry, what are these unnecessary interference?
I think he mentioned some of them.
Mentioned many times when we are set for a victory run, something just happens. Some influence peddler, some decision maker who should be somewhere else, not within the Eagles, or where the Eagles are ambient, just comes and tells the coach, what do you think you're doing? It just disrupts the chemistry. It's something that's as basic as challenging the coach in front of the players, or asking, for instance, Biola just said the choice of a goalkeeper. Somebody in we didn't go to the 1982 World Cup because certain players were recalled to the national team. Emmanuel Okala and Christian Chukwu, former captain, it disrupted the rhythm of the team that had incorporated the young boys, Stephen Keshi, Franklin Howard. They brought back Chukwu. He was national team captain, but at that point in time, it was time up for him. Now, we have a similar thing. Akpeyi was first choice for Genetro, but Ezinwa has, showed he can stand up to it. We leave that decision to the coach, who is with them 24 hours. He knows the psychology. He knows the person whose mind is ready for this game. But when we begin to give opinion, the sporting press is putting on his pressure, the NFA promises, then they're making promises and all of that. Those things, the minister comes to say, we know we are behind you. Just leave this thing to the chief psychologist, who is the team coach. It's his business now.
Aren't promises supposed to, danger them to...
You should have given those promises.
And a lot of times, what typically happens with those promises is that sometimes they go unfulfilled and they become problems at the tournament themselves. So we remember what happened with the Confederations Cup, the embarrassment that we had. Exactly. Because the players were holding out for some of the promises that were made when they won the African Nations Cup that had not been paid. Like we said, the incentive and the motivation of qualifying for the World Cup is enough. You did not need to make extra thousands of dollars promises, because they will hold you to those promises. Let them go and play for the honor and the glory. They've shown enough. I mean, they traveled to Zambia and they won away. They went to Cameroon and got a draw. What these Eagles have shown, because typically one of the things that have usually upset our runs to qualifications have been our away form. And to go to a place like Zambia to get a win, go to Cameroon, and that 1 point in Cameroon, in the light of Zambia putting 6 points together against Algeria, that 1 point against Cameroon ultimately has turned out to be really crucial, because it's because of that point that we can win today and be absolutely certain, of qualification. So the incentive of qualifying for the next World Cup is enough. It is motivating enough for the players individually and collectively. And we should just leave it like that. Like you said, when we get to stages like this, there's always a potential for overexcitement by very senior officials, to say things, to do things. Let the coach be fully in charge. Whatever it is that wants to be done can be done after the game. We need 3 points. We need to win. Everything points to a win, but sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot.
So that we don't turn mathematicians.
So, the Nigeria is 57. This is we're hoping to get the 6th appearance at the World Cup. And there have been World Cups before that we didn't appear. You talked about 1982 World Cup. How would you say the nation has fared in the area of sports?
Well, it's difficult to assess sports differently from the rest of the polity. Sports doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's the same considerations that are put forward in appointing people into NITEL, NEPA, NIPOST, and all those other institutions of state that are now dysfunctional, that they use for sports. So the results are going to be the same. It would be unfair to put sports and subject it to a different set of rules.